right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Couch Warrior podcast, Dana White's Contender Series breakdown. Recently, I've been doing them with my guy, Wiz. Today, I decided I'm going to go live because we're not doing it until Monday. So I wanted to do my own breakdown earlier on because the lines actually came out today. They're a little rough, but we're going to try to work around them. We'll break down the card, and we'll move right along. I'm going to keep this one quick. It's only 5 fights. I'm going to try to go through it, give you guys all the info I have, what I'm thinking, and then we'll get out. Real quick, I do want to put up a post on Twitter that we're getting started. So just give me a second. All righty. All right, that's done, and let's get right into the card. So for our first fight here, we've got Carlos Prates versus Mitch Ramirez. And this very well might be one of the best fights on the card. Both guys are really dope. One, I think, is a little bit better than the other, and I'll talk about it now. So Prates, he's 16, 6-0. He's 30 years old, 6'1" at the 79-inch reach. I've got him out of Valley Top Team, I believe. Actually, no. He's at Fighting Nerds with our guy, Kai Barayo, which is a great gym. There's some really good guys there, and looks like a few up-and-comers are coming out of there now. So hopefully he's as good as Barayo. And then on the other side, Ramirez, he's 7-0, undefeated. He's also 30. He's going to be 6'2", but I don't think that's correct. Looking at him compared to like his opponents who are shorter than that, it doesn't seem like he's that tall. So I do think that Prates is going to be the taller guy, but we're going to have to wait and see until we're in the cage. But I am very confident that he has the longer reach because Mitch Ramirez does not seem to have a long reach. And that's part of why I think Prates wins this is Ramirez, he's not comfortable at range because he can't really reach his opponents. He's way more comfortable up close in the pocket. So he's constantly trying to break that distance, move back, move them back. Now, Prates, he actually does have an issue with that. He does back up a little bit too much. He allows his opponents to back him up. And if he does that, he's going to allow Ramirez here to actually get his own range and be able to hurt him, be able to beat him up against the fence. Now, I don't know if Ramirez is really that great in the striking where I think he can hurt Prates. I mean, he could, but the guy he just knocked out, what was his name? Ayadi Majidin, like that guy's not a welterweight. He fights at lightweight usually. That was a catch weight, and it was just weird. Like he's no Carlos Prates. Like Prates, he's a good striker. He can strike really long. He uses that range. His head kicks are nasty. He's got like 2 head kick knockouts in a row. The hands are pretty good. He's got a good jab. He has a jab knockout, believe it or not, kind of like Ryan Spann over Reyes. And you know, his takedown defense is pretty good, I would say. And I do like his ground game. I like his reversals. I like the way he scrambles. And his get-ups are very good. So even when he's getting taken down, he's able to get back up. Ramirez does have some wrestling capabilities, and maybe he can get some takedowns. But I don't think that it's going to be enough to really hold Carlos down here. So for me, I think Carlos Prates wins this fight. I think he's able to keep it on the feet, and he's able to outstrike Ramirez. I kind of have a hard time seeing him finish, although it's very likely. Both guys have barely been to a decision. Let me pull up their numbers. Prates has been to 3 decisions. He's 2-1 in decisions. And Ramirez has been to only 1 decision that he won against Connie Correa. So both guys, you know, they're not going to decision often. But at the same time, I don't see Ramirez finishing Prates unless Prates is like exhausted. And I don't really see Prates finishing Ramirez, even though I think he's just a better striker because Ramirez, he's very durable. And it's hard for me to imagine him getting knocked out. So I actually think we're going to go to the decision. I'll see what the total is lined at, and then I'll make my move depending what the odds are. But I do think we're going to go over 2.5. So if they give me 1.5, I'll be on that for sure. I do think Prates can finish him. I just don't think it's the likeliest outcome. I'm thinking Prates by decision, but I guess a knockout could happen. I just think he's the better, more well-rounded fighter. Maybe not like more well-rounded because his grappling isn't as good as Ramirez's, but I just think he's more polished, as I would say is a better way to say it. But moving on, we've got Yousri Belgaroui versus Marco Tulio Silva. Belgaroui, he's 5'2" He's 31 years old, 6'5", and he's training at a Tixera MMA and Fitness, which is really funny because he's training with Alex Pereira, a guy who he's fought in kickboxing. This is another guy already in one Dana White's Contender season. We've got one already, Cesar Almeida, who made it. And now we've got a second, Yousri Belgaroui. So Belgaroui also has a win over Pereira in kickboxing. He's got one of them. And then he lost, I think, 1 or 2 more times And he's a good striker, but personally, like watching him. Oh, I actually forgot to intro the other guy. We'll get back to that. And then Silva on the other side, he's 9'1" 28 years old, 6 feet tall, so he's given up 5 inches in height. Training out of Shootbox Diego Lima. All right, now back to our guy Belgaroui. His striking is very solid, right? He's clearly a very solid kickboxer. He's got good credentials, good background, did it at a pretty high level. But to me, it kind of seems like it's not translating to MMA all that well. He's not really striking at range all that much, even though he's this huge guy. And if he does strike at range, he can give his opponents a hard time, including Silva. I think Silva's really good, and he's a solid striker, and I'll talk about his striking in a second. But Belgaroui definitely is going to have the edge at range here as long as he's letting go. He's using a lot of leg kicks. We see that a lot out of these Glory guys. They like to beat on the legs. And a lot of decent kicks. It's just the hands to me don't seem too amazing. Like even like in my notes, I was just like kind of expected more, But he is a decent striker and he does have decent power. But it's not like he's defeating every guy who's smaller than him. He's not always using that size, like I mentioned, because the two guys he lost to, Oselli and Sami, both of those guys are much smaller than him. And Silva's probably going to be bigger than those two were. And Silva has beaten guys who are bigger than him as well. I believe it was, I think it was Oliveira who was very tall. I don't remember off the top of my head. But Silva, I really like this guy. I think he's really, really well-rounded. He is training out of Shootbox. And we keep seeing these Shootbox guys, right? And what do they always do? They're always fighting with their hands down. Thankfully, he's one of the few of them who does not do that. He's got his hands up. He's defending himself actively. He's not getting dropped often. He's not getting hurt often because he's got the Shootbox skills, but now he's also defending himself, something they just don't do most of the time. He can grapple as well. I think his wrestling's very solid. He doesn't go to it all that often, and we don't see him getting too many submissions. I think he only has one. But when he is working on the ground, you can tell that he's well-versed on the ground. He's very solid. And training out of Shootbox, you would expect that out of him. So, and then in the striking, I think his striking is very solid. He's a bit hittable for my liking. And he is going to struggle at range here, like I mentioned, just because Belgaroui does have this really, really large frame. And when he does use it, his strikes are really nice and he's fast and he can hurt people at a range where they can't get to him. But he doesn't do that often. So I think Silva will be okay. I think Silva's good enough to close the distance, get the fight that he wants. And if he needs takedowns, I think he's going to get them and maybe get a submission. So for me, it's Tulio Silva. In terms of betting, I actually forgot to pull up the lines for you guys. I know that for the previous fight we just did, the Prates, what's his name? Prates Ramirez fight. Prates, last time I looked, he was minus 200 and Ramirez was like plus 150 or something. Let me tell you guys. They updated bet online, and it's honestly not the best update. Yeah, so Prates in the previous fight is minus 200, plus 160 is the comeback on Ramirez. And for this fight, Belgaroui, he's minus 129. Silva's right now minus 101. I got him at plus 100. I think minus 101 is fine. I like him here a lot. He's just more well-rounded. He's got a good ground game. I know we did just see the Cesar Almeida fight where he fought a similar guy, right? A Brazilian who can grapple. He is also a very good striker, has good jiu-jitsu. And what happened? Cesar Almeida, not only did he outstrike him, but he started out grappling him too. Do I think that means that Belgaroui is going to come out here and be the same way? I don't really think so. His takedown defense does seem pretty good, but I'm not seeing much of his own ground game. And I do think Silva, if he doesn't get the first takedown, I think he'll get the second or third. So I do think he can get him down. And I think as the underdog, I think it's definitely the play. So I have a unit there, 1.1 unit actually, and we'll move on to the next fight. All right, so here we've got Timothy Cuamba versus Mateo Vogel. Cuamba, he is 6'1" 0. Don't have his age. He's 5'8". Don't have his reach, even though it does seem pretty long to me. And let me check. I think I have something for his camp. No, I don't, unfortunately, for Cuamba. Vogel, 8'2" 0. He's 27 years old, 5'8" as well, 71-inch reach, and I've got him at Brazilian top team at the moment. So a lot of us that do tape every week, we just taped Vogel for the Armfield fight last night or this morning, and I retaped it for this one, of course. And I'm not so high on Vogel like everyone else is. His thing is grappling, right? His thing is jiu-jitsu. His thing is wrestling. He's able to get these guys down, and more often than not, he's able to take the back and often he's able to get the finish. He's taking the back of a lot of guys. That's how he finished Armfield. He was able to, that's his name, right? Garrett Armfield. Yeah. He was able to get him down after getting beat up on the feet. He was able to get him down and eventually get his back. Now, with Cuamba, he wrestles too. Seems like he's got a wrestling background, but I couldn't find anything on Google. When I think someone's like a wrestler that wrestled in college or high school, I'll just Google their name and then write wrestling next to it. Couldn't find anything for Cuamba, but you watch him fight, and he does go to that wrestling. But what I like the most about him is his striking. I was pleasantly surprised. I haven't seen Cuamba fight before. I looked at his record real quick, saw the sub loss to some dude that doesn't have a good record now, really. He has an okay record now. And I thought he was going to be whack, and he's honestly very solid. I was really impressed. Cuamba's hands, super fast. The striking, very straight, down the pipe, nice combinations. He's usually not throwing just one strike. It's almost always a combo, which is something you really want to see. And Vogel, I do not like his striking. His striking's serviceable. It's decent. It's good enough to hang with these guys, but it's not enough to really beat people on the feet, in my opinion. I don't think he's that good of a striker, and that's going to be a problem when you're trying to set up takedowns, right? You need to be able to set up your takedowns with strikes, because if you're not doing that, you're going to be just flying across the cage trying to get these takedowns, and it's going to be a lot harder than if you set it up and ducked under something. And I know that Vogel does do that sometimes, but it's lower level guys. At a higher level, I don't know how high of a level Cuamba's at exactly, but against tougher guys, it's gonna be difficult to do that. So I really think that Cuamba, well, he shouldn't use his wrestling offensively. Maybe it could work. I don't think he should do it, because why take Vogel where he's more comfortable? But he can use that wrestling that he has defensively and keep it on the feet, where I think he's going to have a pretty significant advantage. I really like his striking, Cuamba. So I'm impressed with him. I think I'm going to be playing him. He's my pick. Right now he's plus 125. Vogel's a minus 155 favorite. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait and see what happens, because I'd play him down to plus 100, and I'm hoping that I'll get a better line, because I'm seeing a lot of people loving Vogel, seeing a lot of people saying, oh, Vogel sub for sure. And I mean, I get it. They're quickly wiki capping. They see this right here. Ivan Tenya, 2-0 submission, rear naked. And you know, it happened in a very similar manner to how Vogel got Armfield. So don't get me wrong. Yeah, it can happen here for sure. Vogel could sub him, and he probably should be like a slight favorite. But I don't think he should be minus 155. I think Cuamba's a stud, low key, and I'm going to be on him for sure. So that's my pick there. But I'm going to wait. Make sure you're following me at Couch Warrior Pod on Twitter. That's where I post my picks as soon as I make them. And we're going to move right along. Next up, we've got Chandler Cole versus Thomas Peterson. Cole is 10-3-0. He's 28 years old, 5'10" with a 75-inch reach. On the other side, you got Thomas Peterson, 7-1-0. He's 28 as well, 6'1", so he's going to be 3 inches taller, but have a 3-inch reach disadvantage. So Chandler Cole fought on The Ultimate Fighter. He had actually a decent fight with Heiderman before he got knocked out. He did win one round, which brought them to the third round tie killer. But man, what can I say? Like, he's not athletic. He's definitely a chubbier heavyweight. He kind of reminds me of Carlos Felipe. You guys remember that guy? Short, not the most built, but he's tough, has that dog in him, comes forward, throws a lot of output, and just goes. But the thing is, I think Felipe's cleaner than Cole. Felipe's actually got some good boxing. It's funny to watch him, but he's got some good boxing. Cole, I'm not as convinced. Sometimes he's a little bit clean. He does a pretty good job. But most of the times, he's getting super wild, swinging like crazy, and it's just not a good look. Now, it's not like Thomas Peterson is some kind of sniper where he's going to be able to catch Cole throwing his wild hands. Maybe he could, but in my opinion, Peterson's not a very good striker. His thing is the wrestling. He's a great wrestler. He's taking down all of his opponents, good timing, and once he's on top, he's got really good ground control, very solid ground and pound, and he's able to finish people down there. I'm not sure how easy the takedowns will come against Cole. I mean, I know that Ante Delia in the PFL, he took him down easy, but that dude is massive, and a very good wrestler as well. But the more I watch, I do think that Peterson gets him down. I do think Peterson probably finishes him via ground and pound, maybe the second round, maybe the first. But I wouldn't be shocked if we made it all the way to the third. Neither guy is like tremendously powerful. Cole, maybe if he lands a huge overhand right, but I don't really see that happening. Like if you guys want to like run back one fight of his, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. He does it in every fight. It's just wild hooks. So I don't really see a path for Cole other than like catching Peterson. I mean, if Peterson can't get it down for some reason, this is going to look gross, and Chandler might be able to actually pull it off. Because on the feet, I don't think the gap's that wide because I'm not seeing much out of Peterson on the feet. But I do think that Peterson's going to get him down. I think he's going to finish him there. I'm going to catch up with the chat real quick. My guy, Subhuman Guacho, thanks for coming on, brother. Appreciate you. You did not miss too much. Quick video today. And then Hugh, great call last week on Luis Peluelo. Easy win for a plus 150 fighter. Glad I could help you, brother. I chickened out and didn't play it myself, and I regretted it instantly. He did great, honestly. He looked very, very solid. It took him a second to kind of wake up, but then he came in there and did exactly what I thought he would do. I thought that he would break Robbie Ring, and he broke Robbie Ring. But moving on, we've got our main event of the evening, and it's a great fight. We've got Dylan Salvador versus Bolaji Oki. Salvador 5-1-0. He's 30 years old, 5'9". Don't have their reach. Oki 7-1-0. He's going to be 27, 3 years younger, 5'10". He's going to have a 1-inch height advantage. And so let me check what I got for their camps real quick. I know that I have something for it. Oki, I'm pretty sure, is at Extreme Couture, if I'm not mistaken. Either that or Syndicate. I don't remember off the top of my head. And Salvador, I don't have anything here down for him, but this is a great fight. Both guys are really solid, and I kind of wish they were fighting other people so that both could get a contract. Starting with Oki, he's very strong, very powerful, very athletic. His striking is solid. His wrestling is solid. Everything about him is solid. The problem is he's just very green. You can see it. He's still making mistakes. He's still very hittable. He'll overswing sometimes. He'll get himself out of position sometimes. And the people he's fighting aren't very good. So, Josimar Ferreira. Now, this guy, you look at his record, Melikian, 13-0, and you think, wow, this is a good win. But then you look at Melikian's record first. You see he's fighting, 0-0, 0-1-0. He clearly padded record. And then you watch the fight, and you can tell the guy, all he had was power. And the second he understood that he wasn't going to knock out Oki, it was just one-way traffic for Oki, and he got that decision win and beat the crap out of that guy. Now, his other opponents, though, again, Assis Silva, 0-0-0. Tudor Demenji, 6-2-0. Hiram Rodriguez, 17-29-0. So he's not beating good opponents, but you can tell that he's very solid. And I think the more he fights, the more he's going to improve, because I just think he's green. I think the skills are there. Everything is there. The physicality is there. The build is there. He just needs to keep fighting and keep improving himself. Now, Salvador on the other side, he's also pretty green, right? We're talking about 5-1-0, so that's 6 fights to Oki's 8. He's actually got less fights. He's 30 years old. And the thing is with him, I have one problem, and I feel like his output just isn't good enough. I feel like Oki's going to be landing more output. And this is actually a fight that I want to tape again before I place any bets, because I need to do a little bit more clear tape. I did it pretty late at night, and I'd like to get a better feel for it. But right now, the way I'm leaning is Salvador, and I'll explain why. So like I was just saying, his striking is pretty good, but not pretty good. He's a great striker. I think he's a great striker. He does, I believe, have a kickboxing or Muay Thai background. I don't remember exactly. Pretty sure it's kickboxing. You can tell. Great leg kicks, great kick game in general. The hands are very fast. Nice combinations. Mixes up all his targets. He's a great striker. And what I like a lot about him, though, is that he's also not. He doesn't really wrestle. He can, but he doesn't do it often. But his takedown defense, first of all, is very solid. And second of all, I really like what he does on the ground. He can reverse positions. He can scramble. He can flip his opponent and get on top. He's got a good ground game for a guy who is a kickboxer. And I'm pretty sure most of his wins actually come from submission and not by knockout. Let me check. Yes, 4 wins by submission, only 1 by knockout. That's when he fought Armin Ospinov, and Ospinov didn't want to get off the stool after the second round. I think it was because he was beating up on the legs, but in general, he was just beating him up. And he had a pretty good win against Jakungor Jumayev as well. Was able to choke him out with a Von Flue, so coming off of a takedown attempt. And I just think he's super opportunistic with the jiu-jitsu. And if Oki is shooting on him, he's going to be giving Salvador a ton of chances to get that submission. And then on the feet, I think Salvador can compete as well. Oki's good, but he's still green. He's not as clean as Salvador. I think Salvador's going to hit a little bit cleaner, maybe cause more damage. Who's more powerful, if you ask me? Probably Oki. But I do think Salvador will be the one causing more damage just because he is the better striker, the more clean, the more refined striker. I think that's a great word for it. He's a more refined striker. So right now the pick is Salvador. But first off, I don't want to play it yet because he's minus 165, and I don't think that's really a good line to play it. I feel like he should be lower. I thought maybe like I saw minus 135, and I thought that was playable. But by the time I pressed it and went to bet it, it was gone. So he's my pick right now, but I'm not going to be betting anything until first I see what happens with the line, and second, until I retape this one because I want to get a clearer read and focus really on can Oki compete in the striking with Salvador here, because he can wrestle and he can maybe take him down, but I think that's going to be a bad move. So I want to see if he can compete on the feet more. So I'm going to check that out again. Let me catch up with my guy here. Mike, not to ask or anything, I'm sure you're busy, but are you looking into road to UFC fights at all? I have no clue about any of these guys, just curious. Yeah, I got you. We can run through it right now. I'm not going to be able to put out a video just because of time-wise, and I still have a few fights I need to tape, including the Mark Climaco fight, but let me pull it up for you, and then we'll go over it real quick. Here we go. Road to UFC. Can't believe they've been like not promoting this at all. Most people don't even know these fights are happening. All right, so for the first card, let's see. First fight is Peter Danesoe versus Tumendemberel. I played Danesoe there, actually. I played him at minus 110. I believe now he's like minus 105, something along those lines. Let me double check. Road to UFC. Yes. Oh, wow. He's plus 138 now. So I'm pissed, but I think you can play that. Danesoe, he's got really good striking. He's a great striker. Yes, he can be taken down. And yes, Tumendemberel wrestles. But at the same time, Tumendemberel doesn't set up his takedowns well. He doesn't do a ton from top. And you look at his Sasu fight. Not Sasu. His, man, what's his name? I love that guy so much. Kiram, I believe, is the name. Like, I think Kiram's so dope, but he's a striker. Is it Kiram? Hold on, I need to make sure. Yeah, Kiram, Top Noi Kiram. He's a Muay Thai guy. I love that dude. But Kiram took him down 6 times. Tumendemberel, who's supposed to be the wrestler, and out-controlled him. And honestly, I think he won the fight, but I'm biased. I had to bet on him. But I think that Danesoe can defend the takedowns, and I think he's the way cleaner striker. You look at Tumendemberel, he succeeds with his striking when he's pressuring, but he's very wild with his strikes. And I think that Danesoe is clean enough to catch him with something. So I played him at minus 110, and you guys can get plus 138. So I would think that I would say that's a good bet. Now, next is Tsayura Climaco. Don't really have anything there because I haven't taped it, but right now I'm leaning Climaco at plus money, just because the guy is fighting Tsayura, he's a stud, but he's pretty unproven so far, and he hasn't fought anyone like Climaco, so that's a spot I need to look at. Zha Yi versus Sang-Won Kim. I like Yi there. He's in a parlay. I just think he's more well-rounded, has more ways to win, but it's another one that I would have liked to tape a little bit more. I did cash Kim as a big underdog against Sasu, but I just think that Zha Yi's the better dude. Seung Guk Choi versus Jinna Yushu. Man, I thought I was going to be all over Choi, and I still think he wins, but Jinna Yushu's pretty good too. Fast hands, he's going to be the cleaner striker, and he can wrestle as well. So I think that fight could really go either way. Kaiwen Li, Kuya Kanda, I haven't taped yet, so I got nothing to say there. Long Zhao, Shuya Kamikubo. Kamikubo, like, he's kind of like Marab, where he doesn't really have good range striking. He just kind of strikes up close and then goes for the takedowns. I think he went for like 24 in his last fight. He only got like 4 or 5, but that was enough to get the job done. And you look at Long Zhao, honestly, he's a pretty good striker, and he's a pretty good wrestler, and he's got pretty good takedown defense. But I think he's going to have a hard time dealing with that pressure coming out of Kamikubo. And I think that Kamikubo is going to be able to grind him out. He's actually in a parlay as well. Zhu Rong versus Seung Guk Kim. I actually took the plus 350 underdog shot on Seung Guk Kim. I think that Kim is very live. He's a good striker, and he's a great wrestler. And Zhu Rong, while he has 28 fights, he is still only 23. And I'm not completely sold on him yet. I don't think he's a finished product. I think he's a great striker with great power, but his ground game to me isn't that proven yet. Defending 4 takedowns against that opponent he had last and having a 100% takedown defense doesn't mean much to me either. I do think Kim could get him down.
Now, Kim is definitely the rightful underdog. Zhu Rong probably wins this more often than not, but I think that plus 350 is just incorrect. So I played a third of a unit on Seung Guk Kim at plus 350. Zhawupasi, I love here against Chang Ho Lee. Chang Ho Lee's a good striker. He might be the better striker, and he's had decent wrestling, but his takedown defense and his ground game isn't that good. And Zhawupasi is just a relentless wrestler, and he's really good at it. Now, that line right now, I played him at minus 300 for 3 units, and then I also parlayed him up with Shin Haraguchi when he was fighting the other dude, but that fight got canceled, so now it's just a straight bet on Zhawupasi. He's now minus 260. I still think that's fine. And then what's the last one? Shin Haraguchi, Jaehyun Park. Jaehyun Park was supposed to fight the other dude. I think it was Australian. Kualan Salakid. Salakid is good, and like he was the favorite, and it's kind of weird that they just said bye to him and let Park go into the tournament. But yeah, Haraguchi should win that one. Park is a good wrestler himself, and he's got good takedown defense, and he is a good striker. But Shin Haraguchi is just next level. He is undersized for the weight class in that face-offs. He was definitely the smaller man. We're talking 5'6" to 5'10", and maybe that physicality could help Park keep it on the feet. But I think overall, Haraguchi's just going to get him down there and beat the crap out of him. The dude is such a good wrestler, but hopefully he goes down to 145 after winning the tournament. So that's it, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. There's my teensy little Road to UFC breakdown on top of the Contender Series breakdown. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Good luck with all your bets, and peace out.